So Electronic Arts just sold their company for $55 billion. And a lot of people are asking, what does this mean for the future of Madden, college football, other games, and what does all of this actually mean? Because this is something that came out of nowhere and we didn't really expect it. Now, a bunch of different sites have reported on this, but I'm just going to use Insider Gaming because I use them as a resource a lot when covering different news about Madden and college football 26. And if you're new to the channel and you never want to miss out on any important news for either of those games, make sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon on because there's always updates, news about upcoming games, and more. So let's dive into this new sale that kind of came out of nowhere and talk about what it could potentially mean for the future of Madden and college football. It says here, EA has announced a definitive agreement for a $55 billion sale to a consortium consisting of PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity partners. News broke last week that indicated a sale was close to the group, which includes Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, and the company has now confirmed the deal. The terms of the agreement state that the consortium will acquire 100% of EA, with stockholders receiving $210 per share in cash, which represents a 25% premium of EA's unaffected share price of $168.32 at market close on September 25th, 2025. This marks a new era for EA. Now, it is interesting that Saudi Arabia is a big part of this because, I mean, if you've been following sports over the last few years, I mean, they're kind of taking over a lot of these different areas. They're trying to just lead entertainment, and I mean, this is just another example of that. Now, to continue on in the article here, it says, a statement from EA says that PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity partners bring a deep sector experience, committed capital, and global portfolios that will offer unique possibilities to blend physical and digital experiences, while the sale represents the largest all-cash sponsored take-private investment in history. Andrew Wilson, chairman and CEO of Electronic Arts, said the deal was a powerful recognition of the remarkable work delivered by EA's passionate teams, and the company will continue to push the boundaries of entertainment, sports, and technology, unlocking new opportunities. The transaction is expected to be complete in the first quarter of the 2027 fiscal year, and once completed, EA stock will no longer be listed on the public market, so it will be owned by the private company now, which means no shareholders, which could in theory be a good thing for the games, which we'll get into in a little bit. Now, as far as we know right now, nothing major is set to change with EA, but once the deal actually goes through, that's where we're going to be open to some things potentially changing for the games, or even just some games getting sold off completely potentially. And we'll cover all that in a minute, but really quickly, here's a word from today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Football Head Coach 26. Football Head Coach is the ultimate football management game with real NFLPA licensed players. And the new season of Football Head Coach 26 is looking amazing. Now, as you can see here, starting out, our roster needs a lot of work. We cannot take this team into a game, so we're going to go open some packs and make them better. So we're going to check out the Internationals pack right here. This should help us get some good baseline players that we could start out with. We've got a gold quarterback, which is definitely something we need. We want to have a decent quarterback out there. 84 overall, that's not too bad. And it looks like we're going to get Brock Purdy. We can definitely use him. We're going to go ahead and open another Internationals pack right here because we need to try to stockpile some players so that we could beef up our roster. We got another 84 overall, not bad. And it looks like we're going to be getting a defensive tackle, Javon Hargrave. Now, after opening a bunch of packs, this is what our new roster is looking like. This looks way better across the board. We got some really high overall players now. You can also collect players by the transfer market and player trade challenges. You can earn limited time rewards and special items, so you definitely want to make sure to check this out. Now we're going to hop into this game right here. We got an 80 overall, so we should be able to put in work here. We've got a pretty good roster, and as you can see right out the gate, Brock Purdy is going to work to Devontae Adams, and then Kenneth Walker is going to break off a run, and we're already in the end zone. And then up next, we've got Javonte Williams running it in, and then Kenneth Walker comes right back, adding yet another touchdown. Fast forward to the end of the game here, you can see we completely blew out our opponents thanks to our upgraded roster. You can download Football Head Coach 26 for free via the App Store or Google Play Store, or you could simply click the link in the description below or scan the QR code on the screen. Now, shortly after the announcement of this sale came out, there was another article that dropped that said new EA owners hoping AI will cut costs and boost profits, which this is a little bit of a red flag for some people here, but let's see what the article says. It says Electronic Arts new owners are banking big on AI in the future for the company. According to a new report from the Financial Times, the ownership group is betting on AI being able to significantly cut EA's operating costs. Per the report, the enhanced use of AI will be used as a way to also boost EA's profits in the coming years. This will allow the new owners to manage a large debt load on a company that historically carried limited net debt. So because they're taking on all this debt, which is kind of something that EA had not really done much in the past, they're trying to figure out ways to kind of cut costs, increase the profits quickly so that they can make their money back. On Monday, it was announced that EA will be sold for $55 billion to the group. That includes Silver Lake, Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, and an investment firm from Infinity Partners, owned by Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Now, what does this mean for the future of the games? Well, the big thing that a lot of people are asking is the NFL license. Now, it was reported months ago that EA and the NFL had a deal in place. It was not finalized, it wasn't signed yet, and it said they were still ironing some things out, but the deal was pretty much all but done and agreed upon, as the NFL wants to remain exclusive. They did not want to open the license up. EA was supposedly open to working with an open license because they don't really fear that they're in a position where things would change too much for them, and they didn't want to have to pay the amount that the NFL charges for that license. But the NFL wants to remain exclusive, and they want to remain with EA, and they want EA to keep paying them that big sum of money that they had been paying. So the deal was in place. Now that the company's been sold, people are wondering, what does this mean about that? Will the new owners come in and say, hey, we don't want to pay that much for the license? And then in that case, would the NFL open it up, or would they go to another company? However, with a deal that big in place, it would make sense that the new ownership group would know about this agreement before they purchase the company. So a lot of people as of right now don't think much will change with the actual NFL license. And in fact, the reason that it hadn't been signed yet is because this deal was still being worked through, and now it'll probably be signed eventually, because again, with a deal that big in place, usually a company coming in to buy you would know about that beforehand anyway. But there is always the potential that something could change there from now and the time that this deal officially goes through. The other thing people are wondering is, without shareholders now, will that allow the games to maybe do some things differently because they don't have to answer to shareholders? I don't really personally think this is going to make a big difference, because you're already seeing that they want to include AI to cut costs. And the thing with shareholders is that they just want as much money as possible. And even though there's not going to be shareholders now, this ownership group, that's still what they care about too. They want to get out of this debt. They want to start printing money with this new company that they have just bought. So I don't really think it's going to be a major difference from having shareholders. They're still in it for the money. However, without having to answer to shareholders, there is always the possibility that maybe some things can be loosened up in other areas, and maybe they will potentially have some more money to work with down the line. But right now, they're looking to use AI to cut costs, so that's not the greatest sign. They're probably going to sell off some of the studios inside EA that they don't really have any interest in. I don't think sports has to worry about this, because that's really one of the biggest selling points of EA are the sports games like college, Madden, and the soccer game. Saudi Arabia is really big on sports and entertainment, so I don't think we really have to worry about anything going away there. How will they use AI? That we really don't know. There's been some speculation that they could use this for art-related things, which is probably the easiest way to implement it, although I'm not really a big fan of that because I think artists should get paid. However, that's probably one of the ways they're going to be utilizing it. They could potentially also utilize this to cut costs in the QA department, which is another thing I'm not a fan of, because that's one area where EA could stand to get better in my opinion, and it's an area that they've supposedly cut costs in the past. You know, we see the games launch, and a lot of times they have these issues that have to be ironed out with the first few updates. So if you're cutting costs on QA, that could lead to more of that. So the really big thing here is that a lot of people are going to speculate one way or another about what this means, and we don't truly know until we see it go into effect, and we have a little bit of time before that happens. But the big talking points that I've mentioned that people wondered about, mainly the NFL license, as of right now, we have no reason to believe that that is going to change, and we don't really have to worry about the games going away as well. However, we could see some costs cut in certain areas, which could be problematic for the games down the line, but they're also interested in finding, more ways to grow these games and add more entertainment value and also make more money. So there could potentially be some things down the pipeline that could maybe be exciting if they're really going to put their money there and try to do some new things in this space, but that's something we'll have to wait and see. But for right now, that's really all the news we have, but I did want to speak on it because a lot of people were asking questions about what this potentially meant for us going forward. Now, there are some really important settings in Madden 26 that you really need to know about, and if you haven't checked out this video, I highly recommend it because this will have you winning a lot more games in Madden 26.